John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on LICMC.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m.
Hello, everyone. This is John Beverly, the businessman with a conscience, over here on Harper Avenue at the Accumulant Village, where each one reach one, each one teach one. One brick, one building, one block at a time. And as my father would always say, the only time we look down on a man is when we picking him up. And today, I just want to share with everyone. On yesterday, I lost my mother. And I just want to tell you a little bit about her story and how the businessman with a conscience came about. My mother stood about 5 feet tall, but she walked and carried herself as if she was 10 feet tall. She carried a small stick, but she made it work. Her and my father, they believed in family. They taught us how to love on one another, how to be there for one another. They taught us that we had family if we didn't have anyone else. And if one was in need and the other one had something, everybody had something. That woman and man, my mother and father, so inspirational in my life. My father, he made men's, and my mother made women's. They taught us how to be a man and how to be women's, how to love on your family, how to love your husband and wives, how to love your children and grandchildren, how to make them know that they are somebody. They made sure that we knew that we were somebody. And most important, they let us know and made us, kept it in mind that we are a family and that we are Beverlys. And the name Beverly. And in the raising, we come from, I would like to say, a poor family. We didn't have much, but God has truly been good to us. Sometimes they didn't have food, but down in Mississippi, we was raised and born down in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, and Vicksburg, Mississippi. And then up in the Delta in Rolling Fork, there were cotton fields. And there was times when my mother didn't have the food to feed us, the money to go to a grocery store and buy food. But sometimes when they be planting cotton, sometimes other seeds was mixed in that cotton. And this particular year, it was okra, sometimes tomatoes, but most of the time it was okra. So sometimes she would tell the story about how she would go out and glean the fields, walk up and down the rows until she found okra stalk, and she would pick the okra off of the stalks. And many a times we had okra for lunch and dinner. And they got to a time, and it's funny, and I can tell this story now because I'm reminiscing on the good times. She told the story about how they had gave us so much okra, and we had ate so much of it. One evening they had fed us dinner, and they come in and we was playing in okra. We had took the okra, just rubbed it all over our heads and body. We just had, if any of you familiar with okra, you know it's kind of slimy. So, and as kids, we're just doing something. But it just goes to show if there's a will, there's a way. And even though she didn't have much, but she made a way out of the way that she saw fit, and she did what she saw fit to feed her family, and what she did, what she had to do. My father was off a lot on jobs, and we would have to wait for him. Sometimes he would be gone a week to 2 weeks at a time, sometimes 3 weeks. He did construction work. But they raised us. She raised us up in the church. And if you raise the child that you teach him, he will not depart from his teaching. They raised us how to live right, how to do the right things, even though a lot of times we may not have did it, but it wasn't because we didn't know. But eventually we all came around and did what we supposed to have done. And in the raising, like I say, that woman, sometimes they laugh at me and they tell the story about the hustle in me. It's because of the hustle within them. When my mother was coming up, she sold ice cream, cones, freeze pops, cookies, and cupcakes out the side door. We was like the little neighborhood storehouse here in Michigan, where family members, the Cofields and the Lees and the Bonds and the different family members would come, and children in the neighborhood would come to the side door and buy ice cream or little cups of Kool-Aid. And that was the beginning of business and learning about business, as well as I was taught and learned a few other things from other people. But most important, my family, my mother, she taught us that we could, if we didn't have money and we wanted to do something in church, she showed us how we can go by doing it. We could buy candy and sell it and raise the money and be able to give an offering in church to be able to help to support the ministry. And she helped us raise our children the same way. They sold candy for the church. And it was just a domino effect. And I just want to say to each and everyone, teach your children how to love one another, that they have family if they don't have anyone else. Today, I see a lot of family members, but they don't act like family. So we got to learn how to act like family. We got to learn how to love each other, how to be there for one another, how to trust and listen. Sometimes just to have someone to listen to from time to time. You know, just lend ear. You don't always have to have something to say, but just be able to lend that ear and let them hear, you hear what they got to say and get the load off of their chest. Like I said, my mother, she was a go-getter. She passed on yesterday, but she said that she wasn't going to rust out in the church. She was going to wear out. And that's exactly what she did. She traveled. She went to the convention, the women's convention, the state meetings, the district meetings. And the last trip she just made was the Memphis, the April call meeting. And she went down there and she had a vision even down there. She said, I got a vision. She said, the pastor anniversary was coming up. So she couldn't find a wholesale place down there. So she went to the dollar store and she bought candy and a whole lot of candy. And she went to the meeting and she sat there and she sold candy at the April call meeting to help her fundraiser and to help just to raise money to help support the church. And she's, like I say, she was just a workaholic. She did it her way. Whatever the doctor said for a while, she wasn't telling us anything. And we just found out here in the last 6 months, or maybe a little bit longer than that, just how serious things were with her. But she didn't want nobody to pity pot her. From the time my father passed up until this point in time, she was preparing us for this day to come. She was getting us ready. She was teaching us what we needed to do and how to do what we needed to do in the church, how to build a ministry, how to work to support the ministry if we didn't have money. She just worked and constantly was drilling in us. And she said, I don't want y'all hooping and hollering and crying over me when I'm gone. But it's hard not to when you love someone so much, when someone is so dear to you, someone that been there for you all of your life, not part of the life, but all of your life. She loved all of her children. She taught us that, and I use sometimes now with my cousins, you know how we do and say, you my favorite. Well, I learned how to say, you are one of my favorites. So that way you don't get in trouble because sometimes we have to be careful what we say and do, because when you start having favorites, the other ones begin to look at you a certain way. All of her children was her baby. I was her big baby, but I still was her baby, just as well as my youngest brother, the baby boy, the baby girl, the ones in between. All of us were her babies, and she treated us, no matter how old, how big we got, she still treated us just like we were still her babies. And she loved on us, and we traveled together. And as she began to get a little older and a little sicker, she wanted to travel. She always traveled, but she wanted to do more traveling. She would get back from one trip and ready to go on the next one. And about 5 weeks or so ago, we took her to Chicago to a funeral. And my sister and I and my wife Diane and myself, and she had a nice time, and she enjoyed the family, and we came on back. And when she got back, she was ready to go to Memphis. She said, "You gonna take me to Memphis?" I said, "I don't know, Mama." And then my brother, which is our pastor Ben, and his wife, they stepped up and said, "We'll take you, Mom." So they took her down to Memphis, and they had a nice time down there, like I said. And she was a woman that just was working. She, in spite of her situation, in spite of what she was going through, everybody that she was reaching and touching, she was teaching. She was telling them how good God is, how good God has been to her, how God will heal you, how he will deliver you, how many times he has made a way for her, how he has blessed her down through the years, how good he has been to her. And just like he had did it for her, that he would do it for them and anybody else as well. She wasn't one to just sit down and say, "Whoa, it's me. I'm in my pity party. Don't you feel sorry for me?" She was lifting people up right until the end. When she got back here from Memphis, the Memphis meeting, she wanted to spend that Sunday with us, and we went and had dinner together. And I knew all the time what was going on, and I said, it's getting close. And whatever I saw that I could do, and if I couldn't, God knows I was trying to. And I feel real good because I know in my heart that I did everything I possibly could do for her. When she said she wanted to go, if I was able and could, I was ready, and we was ready to see to making her happy. And when she come from Memphis, and we was sitting there at the Harbor House, which is one of her favorites, for dinner, she said, "You want to go to Mississippi?" I said, "Not right now, Mama." And she just smiled. She said, "Well, I'm ready." I said, "Okay, I'll let you know." And we enjoyed our meal, and we laughed, and we grinned, and we talked about it. And it was about 8 or 9 of us there. And the waiter say, "Is this on one bill or not?" I said, "Well, I got it." And Mama said, "No, I got it. And there ain't nothing you can do about it." So who am I to argue with Mama? That woman, she just expressed and shows love. She don't care who you are, where you've been, what you have done. She had love for you. She was there to tell you that God can fix it for you. That no matter what you was going through, he could do it. And I just wanted to talk today and express the love and share with each and every one of you to remember, to remember your loved ones. If you got your mom and dad here, love on them. Like it ain't gonna be no tomorrow. Just love them. Get up and let them know that you love them. I don't feel bad at all. Every chance I got, Sunday before this past Sunday, I think it was, she was barely talking and couldn't hardly talk, and they said she was just resting. But when the grandkids come in, and they hugged and kissed her. She scraped up enough energy to tell them that she loved them and tried to buckle up the best she could and kiss them. And just before we got ready to go, I had been telling her all the time how much I loved her. She would always tell me, she said, I loved you so much. So I whispered in her ear, Mama, I love you so much. And she didn't respond. It didn't make me feel good, but I understood that perhaps she just wasn't able. But before we left, I whispered again, Mama, I'm getting ready to go. I love you. And she opened her eyes and she looked at me and she said, I love you too. And she reached up and she hugged me. And she hadn't moved the whole time we was there. And she reached up and hugged me and embraced me. And she squeezed me. And then she let me go. And she said, oh, God. And that gave me a moment. And I went, Mister. And I just want you to know that she taught us to love everybody, especially our family. So remember, tell each other, encourage each other, lift each other up, remind each other that you are somebody. And express the love that you have for your sisters and brothers. And if for some reason you guys have fell out with one another, find a way to mend it. Just keep loving on one another. I thank you for listening to me and me telling you about my family. But I just don't mind sharing. Maybe something I say will encourage someone to make a better choice. Remember, based upon decisions that you make brings about consequences. Once again, this is John Beverly, the businessman with a conscience. And thank
John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on LICMC.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m.
Lead me, guide me along the way. Lord, if you lead me, I cannot stray. Lord, let me walk each day with thee. Lead me, oh Lord, lead me. I am weak and I need thy strength and power to help me over my weakest hour. Lead me through the darkness, thy face to see. Lead me, oh Lord, lead me. Lead me, guide me along the way. Lord, if you lead me, I cannot stray. Lord, each day with thee. Lead me, O Lord, lead me.
John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on LICMC.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m. A Kubalon Village presents youth field trip events Fridays 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. ages 5 to 17. $10 per person. Minimum 10, max 15. Saturdays and Sundays 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. $200. Minimum 10, max 15. Includes a Kubalon special, hot dogs, chips, and punch. Akubalon Village's activities and amenities: air hockey, pool table games, video games, foosball, karaoke, movies, TV, cafe. Located at 7701 Harbor Avenue in Detroit, Michigan, 48213. For more information or to schedule, call 313-921-1616. 313-921-1616. Credit cards, checks, cash apps, and Zelle accepted. It's our pleasure to serve you. Culinary pleasure. Have your next social event here at Akubalon Village. Recreation, Entrepreneur Cafe. Culinary pleasure. Recreation, education, culture. For more information, call 313-921-1616. 313-921-1616. John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on LICMC.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m.
join us May the 15th, 2022 at 1 p.m. as Free Will Missionary Full Gospel Church, non-denominational, a third Sunday service, free virtual concert, live on licmc.net radio, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and smart and cable satellite TV at YouTube, London, Washington. Our singers and guests include Irene, Gospel Chill Hop, Reverend Sylvester Hickson, Gospel recording artist, Janice Brandy, Gospel singer, Ernestine McCall, Bishop A. Barnes, musician and singer, Sylvia Wright, performer, London and Helen Foreman, musician. Please join us.
Join us for biblical studies presented by Free Will Missionary Full Gospel Church of Ohio and Michigan, where the founders are Bishop James and Annie Harris. Led by London Join us for biblical studies, prayer.
John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on licmc.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m.